are called elevated heel Fitball squats and chest press wide grip. So first off, I want to show you an athletic ready stance, and then I'm going to lead into a basic squat for you. Okay. So an athletic ready stance. I'm looking down, making sure my toes are in the same line as each other. Now, I want to line up the ankles to the knees to the inside of the high pelvic bone. So when I put my hands here, this is the iliac crest, and I'm pointing straight down. This is hips width. Ladies, not this. Females love to go super wide. I will be going wide today on some exercises, but consciously. So here's hips width. Now I'm going to turn this way. And oftentimes, people like to, some of us have this anterior pelvic tilt, like this little back bend. So we want to take a posterior pelvic tilt, also known as a pelvic tuck, and come into this position. We don't want to keep going into a flexion of the spine, like standing abdominal crunch, just a subtle posterior pelvic tilt. So that's an athletic ready stance. Now we're going to show you a basic squat, and we're going to do a number of them, different squats today. So the toes are lifted inside the shoes. Now, why do I do that? Because it brings my body weight back into my heels. It's going to spare the patella, the kneecaps when I execute the movement. So inhale, I'm going to sit back into a chair, and then exhale, I come up. So I'm not doing the elevated heel one yet. This is just the basic to demonstrate. And I'm going to show you one more from the side. So we're going to sit back into a chair, inhale, exhale, up. Now, here's the issue with any squat. Those of you with the being told not to forward flex the spine, as you can see, there's a little flexion. I'm going to show you something. Just going to do partial demonstration here because I'm not up against a wall. But you can go to your wall and put your arms flat to the wall. I'm just going to keep my hands up on the furniture here for the moment. And I'm going to walk my feet out so that my knees are not beyond my toes. And then you can do a wall seat. You don't have to bend forward at all. You can slide up and down. Well, your arms won't be working. They'll just be sliding with you. But it is a way to offset the forward flexion. The final thing now, leading into the demonstration of the elevated heel Fitball squat, we're going to grab what I will be using, which is a wedge. All right, that's part of our accessories. And when I stand on it, the heels will be up here, the toes will be here, because I want you in a plantar flexion. That's the pointing down of the foot. However, honestly, not everybody has a wedge, so I'm going to show you a little hack. You take 2 weights. Now, you notice that these weights are like a peach color, orange color, whatever you want to call that. And that's called the collar of the weight. The collars of the weight are right up against each other. I come around the front. I mount from the front. And I'm putting my heels, not my arches, but my heels up on the bars, the handles of the weight. So this is what it makes an elevated heel Fitball squat without the Fitball for the moment. I'm not going to sit back into the chair. I know I'm going to confuse you now, but this is just another approach. So what I'm going to do is lean back a little bit, and then I'm going to slide my back as if I'm sliding along the back wall. And then I squeeze the quadricep muscles or the gluteals as I come up. You can be holding your weights here. You can be holding your weights up here. When you hold them down here, it's called a suitcase grip. And that's how I want to show you to use this in case you don't have the wedge. Now, we're going to move on with the next exercise, which is the chest press wide grip. But I'm going to show you upright, again, for those of you who don't want to come onto your backs. So here's wide grip. Here's narrow grip. So what I do is I'm going to puff up my chest, And on the exhale, let me go a little bit more diagonal. I'm going to push forward and then control the release. So I exhale. I'm in that athletic ready stance. And notice this area here, the sternum. I'm getting real close. I really have to squat down so you can see that. Notice that when I go forward, I don't do this stuff. All right? You keep yourselves upright and you release. So now the next, it would be a block of exercises, would be a goblet squat along with a chest press narrow grip. Now I'm going to use a Fitball here because I will be holding a weight, but for the moment, for the demonstration, let's go lightweight. So I'm going to take the ball, bring it up to my chin. And believe me, I'm going to have my 30-pound weight right here, okay? Because it's going to tell me, keep that head up. So I'm going to put the ball here. I want to make sure I don't knock into my microphone. And I stand a bit wider. And I sit back into the chair. And I come up, pelvic tuck at the top. Inhale, exhale. One more. And pause. All right. Now, we have the chest press with the narrow grip. Same concept as before, but now hands differently. And when you're on your back in particular, those tricep muscles will very much come into play. We have the pectoralis muscles here. We have the anterior deltoid, the front shoulders as well, and those triceps. One more and release it down. Now, next block will be sumo squats along with, this is a mouthful, bilateral, means both sides at the same time, bent over, back row, narrow grip. So anytime you hear a bent over in the exercise, we already know those with the issues for not forward flexing that spine, it's not for you. So I'm going to demonstrate this exercise upright because you'll still get the scapular area to work. So the first one, sumo. You think about those sumo wrestlers. They stand wide. Now you can do something here, and I'm going to show a movement. I want you to pay attention. Those of you who are medicated or not for hypertension have pinched nerve or rotator cuff muscle issues. I'm going to demonstrate an arm position you're going to do instead of the one we'll be doing with the weights. So here we go. I sit back into a chair. I track my knees over the second to third toes. Toes are lifted. Now notice that when I return and begin the movement, I'm 10 to 15 degrees away from the side of my body. If I were here and I go to lift, I brought in that rotator cuff, specifically the supraspinatus. And I'm going to sit back again. And the supraspinatus is the one that likes to get injured a lot, especially on females. So here we go. That's sumo squat. And you're working the arms as well, getting the shoulder work. Now that bilateral bent over back row, for you folks, we're going to stay upright, narrow grip. So remember the chest press narrow. Well, this is just the opposite movement. You're pulling in. You're pulling in. Now I'm going to turn my back to you. I want you to see the scapulae, the shoulder blades. Amy, can you see all right?
Yes.
Okay. And pause. So when you do the work, you breathe in and out through the nose, you exhale on the effort, and you pause at the peak of the contraction. All right, next block, we have RDLs, Romanian deadlifts. So what I'm going to need to do here is demonstrate a basic deadlift first. I'm going to tell you now, those of you with the forward flexion of the spine issues, do a wall seat instead. Much better for you. But for the rest of us, here is the squat, right? Basic squat, sitting back, coming up, pelvic tuck squeeze. Here's a deadlift, because a lot of times people kind of combine the movements. No, here is a hinge from the hip. Exhale up, knees are soft, and then that pelvic tuck squeeze. You don't want to do a big, I see sometimes a lot of thrusting forward. You don't need to do that. So I'm just going to do a couple more here. Now, what if you don't have that range of motion? Fine. You can make sure you're hinging. Knees are soft. Come up, pelvic tuck, squeeze. That's your deadlift. I'm going to show one more and exhale up. Now I'm going to face you, and we're going to do what I think, yes, the lat pull down is going along with this Romanian deadlift. The Romanian deadlift is going to be this way, wide. So I want you to see the difference between the two deadlifts. And now I'm going to demonstrate a lat pull down. This is where I need, okay, got a number of issues to list. We have medicated or not for hypertension, vertigo, GERD, transient ischemic attack, stroke. I'm going to demonstrate it sitting down because I want you to see what goes on with the arms. Once I'm standing with the weights, you may not be able to fully see it. So the arms come up, not straight up. It's not a military press, all right? And you're pulling. You want to think you have something in your hands and you're really pulling it toward you. So what am I doing? I'm really moving those scapulae, those shoulder blades. We're going to go one more and lower down. Now, for those of you with the issues I mentioned, pardon me, you can do that back row. You can do that instead. Now, let's see. Excuse me. We have another block here, second to last block. We have narrow squats along with military press, wide grip. So for narrow squats, those of you with what is called a valgus knee, don't do this. Do a basic squat. Valgus knee means you turn like this, where your thigh bone, femur goes in, the knee rotating, and then the shin bones are coming out the other way, the other side. So you go kind of knock-kneed. We don't want you to do the narrow squat, please. Also, for a military press wide grip, it looks like this with the arms up. And again, for this, hypertension, medicated or not. Also for rotator cuff and pinched nerve. Remember this exercise that we demonstrated already. So with a narrow squat, well, here we go. Feet are together. And you're going to notice that when your feet are wider apart, you have a broader base of support, you feel like you have more balance. Here, it might challenge your balance a little. Good, let it be challenged. Just don't be unsafe with it. And certainly if you have vestibular issues, which are issues with your balance, don't do anything that's going to overly tax that, and never work out on your own, please. All right, here we go. Narrow squats. I'm sitting back. Come up, pelvic tuck, squeeze. One more. Now I'm going to sit down for the military press. Again, I'm doing this because when I stand, you might not see the hands all together. So here we go. It's a shoulder press, also known as an overhead press. So you exhale, push up. So when we do this kind of movement, what we want to think about, we want to be able to put something up into a top shelf in a cabinet or your closet. And you want to be able to bring it back down without it falling on you. One more and slowly down. So our last block is a combination of front squats. I'm going to be honest, I'm not a big fan. I do them though, they're good for you. And then also military press, narrow grip. So front squat, it means I'm going to be holding my weights right here. Therefore, my elbow is going to be flexed the entire time. I need caution here. For those of you with medial epicondylitis, this would be golfer's elbow, or lateral epicondylitis, tennis elbow. Not so sure that being in a constant position for an exercise is the best thing for you with your elbows. You need to discuss that with a medical care practitioner. All right. So front squats, I'm going to go a little bit wider, not so much like an RDL, but a little bit wider than following my high pelvic bone. And hands like so. I sit back, exhale up from the heels. The toes are still lifted inside the shoes, which, by the way, is excellent for balance because it helps train your shin muscles and excellent for your knees. And then the military press narrow grip. We're going to sit down for this one. Exhale up. So there's a lot. Whenever you do a narrow grip, there's going to be a lot of tricep work involved. We have deltoid muscles here. We have biceps, triceps. Once again, never reductionist. So that's the whole thing for everybody. If you need to continue without accessories, you're invited to do so. So now, Amy, we're going to move into the superset component. Okay, so I'm going to be coming up onto my wedge. I've got my Fitball between my knees, thighs. I'm going to move this just for a second because my wedge is just a little too close to the bench. There we go. Yes, I know I'm wobbling around, but that's okay. Okay. Holding 25-pound weights, squeezing the ball. So now my hip adductor muscles, the inner thighs, are going to get work, along with the calves and shins, along with the back and the glutes. Fantastic exercise. So I'm going to lean back toward the wall. I'm not sitting back into the chair. Now, do not bring the ball so far back where it's going to pop out behind you. Also, don't let the plug face your skin. Every time I come up, I squeeze the ball, my quads contract, my gluteals are working, the belly button is pulled in. Inhale down, exhale up. 2 more. 1 more. Great. I'm going to set the weights down for the moment. And then I'm coming onto the bench. Let me just clear this out of the way for the moment. The wedge. And I'm going to come into my chest press wide grip with 18-pound weights that I've got preset. When you mount, make sure the weight is on the thigh. I'm going to carefully roll down, arms out. Puff up the chest. We don't want to collapse torso. Exhale up. Pause at the peak of the contraction. Focus on a non-moving point on the ceiling. I get quiet when I work. Two more. Now I meet thighs to weights, weight to thighs to roll on up, set them down. Now here's where the superset component comes in right now. All back to back. And the beauty of it is you actually can get the work done in less amount of time this way. Notice I mount from the front. I don't step over. Okay. I know part of the top of my head is cut off, but I want you to see the feet. You will see me adjusting my real right arm. You see it as my left because I have a winged scapula that makes the shoulder drop forward. So I have to put it in place. You probably hear me in the microphone with the breathing. One more. Gonna waddle on over here to set down the weights, get them out of the way. And back to the bench. Weights to thighs. Careful when you roll down. Now, some of you with back issues might want to put one foot up on a bench or both feet. But no matter what, you do want to have that subtle arch in the back. I never ask you to do it, but on this exercise, it is helpful. Hit that spot on the ceiling. In yoga, we call that our drashti, a point upon which to gaze. So when you want to push that heavy grocery cart, besides the movement coming from your hips, where you have to have those strong chest muscles, front shoulder muscles, triceps. One more. Thighs to weights, weights to thighs. Set them down. Okay, first block is done. Second block is going to be goblet squat with a chest press narrow grip. Here we go. So I got my 30-pounder over here. And give me a moment to lift her here and get myself set. Okay. I'm going to go wider. I got to watch the microphone. Yeah, I know I'm playing here, just getting myself set. Here we go. You know I hit the bench, so I'm going to step forward a little bit. Toes turned out, feet even. There we go. I cleared the bench. Three more. And I'm going to bring it on over to set it down. Back to the bench because we're doing chest press, narrow grip. Back to the 18s. Yes, compound movements do like it when you try to give it your most effort, the highest weight you can safely handle. Palms face each other. Just making sure I have that little arch. Two more. You'll hear a little bit of some sounds coming out of me. Back to the goblet squat. Are the toes in the same line? Are you sitting back into a chair? That's why I actually like doing it standing in front of the bench. Two more. I feel it, folks. I'm going to set the weight down. Always double check my weights, making sure everything's safe. Narrow grip. Last one. And that block is completed. I'm going to set my weights down over here now on my rack. Amy likes my rack. Amy got my rack. Okay, what is next? We have sumo squats with the bilateral bent over back row, narrow grip. Remember, those of you with the spine flexion, please be careful. So I'm going to grab my weights for this first. I'm going to set them on the bench. Okay, so for sumo squats, I'm working with 20 pounders. This is where I bring the feet wide, toes in the same line. I'm going to, for the first round, rest the weights on my thighs. Toes lifted inside the shoes. Sit back and exhale up. I feel like I want to play maybe slightly wider. We'll see. I want to just make sure I can engage the gluteals, though. Pelvic tuck at the top of the movement. And there's that squeeze of the glute. I love this exercise. Two more. Why do I emphasize so many squats? Because, folks, basic activities like getting in and out of your car, up and down from a chair, and frankly, up and down from the commode can become an issue later in life. We don't want that to happen. So remember the other row where you're standing up to do it, those of you not flexing the spine. For the rest of us, here we go. These are 15 pounders. It's almost like you bring your arms out in front, just a little bit, as if you're starting an old-fashioned lawnmower. But that would be unilateral, one arm at a time. Last one. Okay, back to sumos. All right, now the sumo I'm going to do this time is I'm going to bring the arms out in front. Basically, weights real close to each other, if not touching. And here we go. So I have to bring my feet a little wider, but not too wide where I can't feel the glutes contracting. £20 each. Last one. I like to cross my weights most of the time. This kind of helps prevent weights falling down. Belly button in, my friends. Belly button up and in. Last one. Okay, next round, next block of exercises would be the RDLs, Romanian deadlifts, along with a lat pull down. So let me bring over another set of weights. So for the RDLs, I'm using 20 pounds again. I'm going to face you and go wide. Not as wide as a sumo squat, right? So remember, deadlift is the hip hinge, not a squat. Here we go. Just double checking my feet. Now, why deadlifts? Well, folks, you got to bend down and pick up something. I want you to get up without getting hurt. So it's hips, glutes, thighs, back muscles, abs, arms working, a lot of stuff. Last one. And let me set them down. Lat pull down, I use 10 pounders. I'm going to tell you right now, after this workout, I'm taking a flight to Vicky's. And I'm going for that food. Two more. Easy. When you lower the arms down, right over to those RDLs. I'll go to the side now for you. So the outside sneaker, you may not see it fully, but you got the idea. There's that pelvic tuck with the squeeze. Now notice I have the head up, correct? We don't want that head hanging down. Medicated or not, hypertension, vertigo, or GERD, or anybody. We want the cervical spine of the neck and the lumbar spine of the low back to ape each other. They both do a natural lordotic curve, which lends itself to back bending last repetition. And just so Vicky has an idea, we have 2 more blocks, and that is it. A little bit of stretch, and the platform is yours. Whoa, I'm feeling it. One more. Slowly. Ooh la la, take them down. I'm going to set these down over here back on the rack. Okay, yes, you can hear the breathing changing now, folks. The heart rate's going up. Okay, now we're going to do those narrow squats. Yeah, just double checking the weight. Yeah, narrow squats with the military press wide grip. Who doesn't do narrow? Valgus knee for sure, okay? So back to the 20s. I'm lifting the toes inside the shoes. I better go a little forward so that my push doesn't touch. Okay, toes up, arms back. Sit back and come up. Do not let the weights go forward here, folks. Keep them back alongside the hips, not wandering out in front. I'm really keeping those legs together. One more. Hold there. Now, this is going to be with a military press. This is where I want to try to level up. Let me see how I feel. I reserve the right to remove the wrist weights if I feel like maybe a little too much. We'll see. The one thing we don't want to do, folks, is get hurt. There's no reason to get injured from the perspective of, well, I just lifted too much weight. No. Follow your instinct. Follow your body on this stuff. Okay, so I have 16.5-pound weights here. One more. Right. Rest when needed. Do not quit. Okay, I'm going to try something. I've never done it. I'm doing it on Amy's show, okay? I'm going to do narrow squats. I'm leaving on the additional 1.5 pounds on each wrist. So we are very, very windy here today, Amy, down here. So you might be seeing a little bit of the shifting in the visual, in the audio. I'm sorry, the video. So here we go. I'm leveling up. £21.5 on each side. I'm going to go for 2 more. Oh, we'll set these down. I'm not going to use them anymore. Should I? Yeah, let's keep them on. Let's give it a shot. You can even stop mid-set, remove the weights, and continue on with the lighter weight. It's called downgrading. Oh, gosh. 2 more. Ooh la la. All right. We've got our last block here, folks. For this, I'm taking them off. Going to remove the wrist weights. Wrist weights are washable. You remove your weights, you can wash the cuffs. Anything that's preset gets skanky, folks. It's going to get moldy and stuff from your sweat. All right, last round is going to be front squats with the military press, narrow grip, right? But remember this one, those of you who need to use that as an alternative. Okay, right now, my least favorite. I'm going to bone up in my head here, get my thoughts straight. Here we go, holding 15 pounds. Don't let that weight come away from you, folks. You can really hurt your back. So I'm going to say this one is definitely a more intermediate exercise because of the control. Keep those toes lifted inside the shoes. 2 more. Okay. I got to get those arms back up for the military press. Narrow grip. For me, harder. Whew. 2 more. I'm feeling the accumulation of it all, folks. Last one. Okay, I'm going to give myself a moment. Come back into the final round here, the final sets. So front squats, boom, here we go. Toes lifted. My tush touched, so let me go a little forward. Two more. My heart is beating, folks. Okay, I'm going to give those elbows a moment. Yes, I did rehearse this entire thing before we shot our session here today. So here we go, but no excuses. Come on. You got it. Last 2. Easy on the down, especially when you're fatigued. Okay. We're going to do a couple of stretches just to offset some of this stuff. My biceps and shoulders are talking right now, so I'm going to pay attention. So basically, I'm putting my arms out like Atlas, and I'm going to push the walls away. Who is not going to do this? Carpal tunnel. You're going to do this. Elongate through the middle finger. That's a little bit of a hack that the ballet dancers do in order to get those beautiful long arms. Then I'm going to go thumbs down, inhale, exhale, open up the chest, the front shoulders, lengthen the arms. And now to offset all that forward flexion, let's do some spine extension, also known as back bending. Be careful, TIA stroke, right? So I'm going to, well, I'll face you and then maybe I'll face to the side. I'm going to bring my legs a bit wide apart. Hands, palms down on the sacrum, not the carpal tunnel. You're going to go down here so that your wrists don't bend. Now I'm going to start to slide the sacrum, that flat triangular plate at the small of the back, down toward the heels. Does it slide? No. I just like that as an image. Roll the shoulders back. Now, for those of us who can drop the head back, now's the time. And if you want, you can also do it straight leg, where you're lifting up on your kneecaps. And then inhale the head up. Exhale, release the shoulders. Let's take some nice big shoulder rolls. And that's what we've got for you today, Amy, on strengthening and nourishing for life.
And now you guys are in for a special treat for a wonderful 3-way hug. So take your right hand and put it on your left shoulder, and your left hand and put it on your right shoulder. Now squeeze. That's a hug from all of us to you, and a hug from me to you, Angela, and to you, Vicky. And if you would like to join me and Vicky and Angela with my tagline, are you guys ready?
Ready.
All right. Well, until I see all of you again, remember, be strong, be well. Wait a minute. Ooh, we're going to do that with Angela.
I like
That's our
that.
thing. We do two biceps. Be well and be green.
Thank you, Amy and Vicky.
Thank you, Vicky. Thank you, Angela. And thank you, Green Warriors.
Now you can get 5 free whole food plant-based SOS-free recipes from Be Green with Amy. Just click on the link in the show notes and Amy will send you 5 free recipes, motivational quotes, and more so you can be strong, be well, and be green.